What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with another J-drama soundtrack reaction, and we're returning to the soundtrack to the excellent and quite hilarious, if also dark and morally complicated show Kurokochi 2013. And yes, I've explained it a lot, so I won't belabor the point here, but I'll just say that it's a show where you, the audience, are literally told, more or less, that by the end of the show, it's up to you to determine what's right and wrong, what's good and evil in a morally and politically complicated landscape. And we're going to listen to a tune by one of the two composers. This track is by Dewa Yoshiaki, and the track is called Dirty Cop. So on a more immediate or narrow interpretation, you can think of it as the theme song of our hero, Kurokochi, which is to say Detective Kurokochi, the main character of the show, played to hilarious perfection by Nagase Tomoya. He is fundamentally a dirty cop. He blackmails politicians to get information he needs, he takes bribes, he breaks protocol and ignores directives from his superiors if it doesn't serve his investigative purposes. But more than other dirty cops in the show, he does all that purposefully in an attempt to root out corruption and long-standing mysteries and cold cases, one in particular, in Japanese society more generally, but within the Metropolitan Japanese Police specifically. So again, he is a dirty cop, but one that is perhaps more sympathetic and morally justifiable than several other dirty cops in the show, and he is assisted by a junior officer played by Goriki Ayame quite well once again, and still amusingly, not as over-the-top comedically as Kurokochi's character, but she comes into the show being very straight and narrow and trying to do everything by the book, but she eventually finds out, not only through Kurokochi, but through her own investigations into what happened to her father, that doesn't always work, and sometimes you're going to run up against the wall and be unable to solve or bring to justice a case that has been walled off from, prying eyes. So over the course of the show, she learns that if you really want to get something done, and if you really want to get revenge or bring justice to some injustice from the past, you might have to break some laws and go outside the lines. So it's a show about many dirty cops, and Kurokochi's right in the middle of it, and we meet him as a very corrupt cop and dirty cop right in the first episode. But again, over the course of the show, you find out that maybe, at least in most cases, what he's doing is at least somewhat justifiable, if not, in some cases, admirable. So, yeah, this track, I think, plays in a lot of cases where Kurokochi is up to his bag of tricks and doing things which, again, may be technically illegal or outside police protocol, but as the show goes along, you learn that maybe this dirty cop is worthy of our sympathy. So, let's give it a listen. This is from the Kurokochi soundtrack 2013, a track by Dewa Yoshiaki, and it's called Dirty Cop. me just to say Seikai, which is further to say, anyone who's seen the show will know, that's one of Kurokochi's common phrases. It literally means correct or like correct answer, and he often asks rhetorical questions, especially of Seike-san, where he knows the answer, and when she says what he's leading her toward in terms of the line of thinking, he'll reply Seikai, or like mata mata Seikai, like again and again, very correct. So yeah, it's a common touchstone of the show comedically and narratively. So yes, when I think of this show, that's maybe one of the first things I always think of. But yeah, again, I think it plays often when Kurokochi himself is on camera, though maybe not exclusively. I will say, like, hearing that organ, which is a really, like, bluesy, like, rich organ sound, it reminds me of one or two of the tracks in the My Boss, My Hero soundtrack. So, yeah, it seems like good shows with Nagase Tomoya occasionally do have organs in the soundtrack. And of course, the guitar is really good there, too. I like how the drumming, it's this constant beat on the snare, but then it goes into, like, double or triple time by the end. So there's a sense that it's building, it's mounting towards some conclusion or crescendo, which feels like what the show is doing narratively as you go through it. It is very much a cumulative show, meaning, some shows have like self-contained cases if it's a detective show, even if maybe there's some threads that continue to build at the same time on a longer arc. But this show is essentially one big long arc. I suppose there's certain details or certain subplots that are self-contained or are mostly contained within a single episode, but even those are just stepping stones to the larger arc and culmination of the show at large. So, yeah, it's a really cool show. It's definitely one I recommend watching. I'll put the link to my Patreon watch along, which has been complete. All the episodes are in there for a while now, so anyone who wants to jump on that train who isn't aware of the show or hasn't seen it yet. A car just screeched or put on its brakes very dramatically out there. In any case, I will put the dramatic brakes on this video, but I'll just say that you should check out the show if you haven't seen it. We still have, I want to say, like more than half of the tracks on this soundtrack. There's over 20, and I think this is maybe like the 10th or 11th track that I've done from the soundtrack, so still plenty to go. Let me know what you think. I will see you next time. Peace.